American papers like Newsweek have been talking about creation of Pashtunistan.
Now, wait. This is very amazing because, you know, in the middle of the emergency position, everybody thought that, you know, that all the media was focusing on the emergency, and suddenly this magazine comes out with, you know, a report saying that everything that is happening in Pakistan's tribal areas basically is leading to Pashtunistan. The viewers can see I think a page glimpse of the article itself.
You see, this is very stunning for the analysts who are based in Pakistan and observing these developments, because for the last 60 years, we have heard of sub-nationalist movements in Pakistan who are secular-based. Like we have talked of Sindhu Desh, we have heard of Jinapur, we have heard of Baluchistan, independent Baluchistan, we have heard of Pashtunistan. And Pashtun sub-nationalists who have been striving to cut exactly on the same lines, they have been talking of cutting Pakistan west of Indus line, joining it into Afghanistan, into autonomous regions of Pashtunistan, have been backed by Soviet Russia. But now, we found the same Pashtun sub-nationalist elements, just like Balochistan sub-nationalist elements, joining hands with the Americans. It's in a stunning move where American press is also for the first time in the last 60 years talking of Pashtunistan. So what's going on here? Is it exactly the same scenario that, or at the cost of Turkey, they are creating a greater Kurdistan, and here at the cost of Pakistan, they're trying to create a greater Pashtunistan? There is some kind of sinister nonsense going on.
But in our case, Zaid, the leadership of this so-called BLA, this terrorist outfit, I mean, you're accusing the Americans, but I see them really residing in Kabul. I mean, and it's Karzai, and it's the Northern Alliance, and it's maybe the Indians, I don't know.
See, the Kurdish are also living under the American occupation. They are being protected, patronized, trained, given money, equipment, supplies, and Israelis as well. And there are confirmed reports of Israeli presence in Afghanistan as well. And another thing, the religious radicals in Pakistan, this is a very important point that I need to make here. The religious radicals of extremists of all kinds in Pakistan have been facing them. There's one common factor amongst them all. They have never been against the federation and state of Pakistan. And they were never separatists. They were never sub-nationalists. They were never somebody who wanted to dismember Pakistan. In fact, Pakistan was created on the ideology of Islam.
So they support that.
And they support that. And what the demand was implementation of Sharia laws within the geographic boundaries of Pakistan. Nobody ever said dismember Pakistan.
But now, what do you think?
This is for the first time in two places we are seeing this thing development. One is Baitullah Masood, he's doing it in Waziristan. And other is Mullah Fadlullah, he's doing it in Swat. Just 2 days ago in Swat, the areas under his control, he burned down Pakistani flags, he raised his own flags, and he declared himself as the leader Amir al-Mu'mineen of the tribal area, of those regions. Basically, a complete declaration of independence. Now, this is stunning. Similarly, Baitullah Masood. Now, Baitullah Masood again is an extremely suspect character. Our sources really confirm to us that Taliban are also suspicious of him because he's not under the Taliban influence anymore. Afghan Taliban have never declared, Mullah Umar have never declared war on Pakistani state. He still understands the difference between government policies and the state of Pakistan. He makes a distinction between the two. Where this line has been crossed, in South Waziristan particularly, is that Baitullah Masood is using satellite telephones. He's using high technology communication equipment. It should be a 5-minute job for the Americans to track where the man lives, where he exists.
And they're our friends. They can give us that information.
They're supposed to be our friends, and they're supposed to give us the intel on that. But when they're protecting the BLA separatists in Kabul, there's a very strong suspicion, as an analyst that I have, that they are protecting Baitullah Masood for certain sinister reasons.
Okay. Well, before you continue, we have a quick commercial break. Let's go for that break, and we'll be back. We'll join you after this. Okay, we're back. Now, Zaid, you were talking about Swat and Baitullah Masood, and you have your strong suspicions that he's actually being protected by the same people who are also protecting the leadership of the separatist BLA in Kabul, which happens to be also under American control and administration. Anyway, now Swat, because that's the latest development. People say that Swat is basically, the problem is Swat is part and parcel of ours, Pakistan's, Afghan policy, because we turned against the Taliban, and so they're taking their revenge, and they're creating trouble for us in Swat. What's your take?
That's nonsense.
Why is that?
Swat problem started in 1996 when the Sufi Muhammad first declared Sharia, supposedly, took over that area and rebelled against the state of Pakistan. There was no 9/11 then, there was no Afghan policy then, there was no problem in our tribal areas, there was no US invasion of Afghanistan. So how could Swat problem got to do anything with Pakistan's Afghan policy? It started in 96. The cancer was continuing. The gangrene stayed. Now, post 9/11, the Sufi Muhammad took thousands of his followers into Afghanistan. He took them into Afghanistan, abandoned them all, came back alone with a few followers, and got rest of them slaughtered inside. And basically that was the end of the problem in the Swat insurgency. The Swat problem was completely resolved then.
Right.
Sufi Muhammad himself begged to the government for protection. He said, please keep me in custody because the people back home are going to kill me because I've got hundreds of their sons killed in Afghanistan and I've abandoned them and I've come back. And the government actually took him in protection.
So where does that came from, Fadlullah?
So the issue of Swat was actually dead for the last 6 years. It just developed in the last 8 months, 9 months. How come? What are the linkages? Swat's issues, the latest issue of Swat actually flared up after the Lal Masjid crisis in Islamabad. Fadlullah was a teacher in Lal Masjid, and right now hundreds of his supporters who are fighting with him in Swat are those militants who have been released by the government from Lal Masjid.
By the former Supreme Court
without getting into the details,
panel of judges.
But the unfortunate problem is without debriefing them, without making sure, without taking guarantees from the tribes and parents that they would not involve into militant activity, they were let loose, and now we are creating problem there. But now I'll come to some more details onto that. Fazlullah is also son-in-law of Sufi Muhammad, so they are related also. Their relationship is also there. And Fazlullah is the only mainland religious radicals who had declared an autonomous state within the state of Pakistan. As I said, he raised his own flag, burned down Pakistani flag, called himself Amirul Mu'mineen, and now they are trying to take over the valley. But the strength of Fazlullah and his followers in Swat is highly exaggerated in media. They are in hundreds, not in thousands. Part one. Part two, Swat is a closed valley. From Pakistan, the territory of Pakistan is all around it. They are not connected with Afghanistan. It's not a problem like Waziristan there. In Waziristan, there are hundreds of small and big, large groups, various clans, tribes, sub-clans, which are operating there, which have their own militias, armed groups. In Swat, there's only one TNSM, Tehreek-e-Nafaz Sharif Muhammad. There's only one center of gravity. When these people started their rebellion, Indians started to write in their own think tanks. The Indian secret services and intelligence agencies started to write very blatantly, and recently we are seeing their press releases which speaks of their overconfidence about the subject, is that they have talked of having their assets within the militants who are listening to Pakistan Army chatter. I mean, these are the exact words.
Now, before you continue, I just want to tell the viewers, because this was going to be one of my questions, so just let me tell the viewers here, that basically what Zaid just referred to right now are two reports that were released by Indian sources. One was by an Indian website, I believe, Zaid, and it's actually a very well-known think tank, and it has an internet presence. And they basically said in one of their analyses on what's going on in our tribal regions that they have their assets, and actually you can see a quote actually on the screen right now from one of those websites, that they have equipment on the ground and assets who are actually listening in on the communication of Pakistan Army units in our tribal regions. That's one. And the second is very open, actually. It happened over the weekend. The Directorate of Military Operations in the Indian Army itself released information that, according to their sources on the ground inside Pakistan, tested sources and credible sources, Pakistani Army has moved some of the soldiers from the LOC with India to our tribal areas, a thing that Pakistan has denied. So the Indians are basically saying, as you just mentioned, Zaid, you can continue with that they're listening to us.
So what happens is all the signs that we are getting, the religious groups never declare war against Pakistan, Fazlullah has. Religious groups do not want to dismember Pakistan, he has. They don't burn down Pakistani flag and declare themselves Amir Mu'mineen, he has. They also have equipment which is military specifications, which Pakistan Army does not have. So where did he get that from? They're not available in open market.
How do you know about this?
You see, because they are using communication equipment which Pakistan Army can't hear. And they are listening to Pakistan Army's communication. So they definitely have equipment which is much more sophisticated than we have. And Indians, when they are saying they've got assets on ground who are listening to Pakistan Army chatter within the militants. And also the fact that the beheading of Pakistan paramilitary forces and police which took place there was so repulsive, and the whole people of Swat who are peace-loving, patriotic Pakistanis of the settled area, they were repulsed by what they saw, what happened there. And those militants then suddenly denied doing it and even acknowledged having foreign elements present in their ranks who must have done it. This is a statement from the militants who said it. And then after that, the militants Fadlullah tried to behave well and nice and started to release those paramilitary forces and troops and the police.
In fact, he released a statement, or he had somebody release a statement saying that, you know what, I think it's not right. It's maybe some of my overzealous activists who might have done it.
And also